There's a lot of different theories on ROI, right? Because if you're comparing it to ROI of television, magazines, radio, you can't track it. People just assume that because the media is placed on a mobile device that it's any different than that. I don't happen to think it is, because most people aren't doing any type of attribution tracking. So for example, with my background in digital, we used to call, a certain type of marketing like a lead generator. So like the introducer, so the type of marketing that introduces you to a product. So that might be like search engine optimization, or it could be, I think usually search engine optimization was what drove people into first see a brand. Then they would use social media, maybe blogs or Facebook, to do research about that brand. And then ultimately they just go directly to the brand and buy the product. So unless you're tracking every single touch point of that, how can you attribute 100% of the sale to the last point, last touch? I think it's called last touch attribution. A brand, let's say that they spend, $100,000 on an influencer, but you never track and that influencer is maybe the relationship builder or the introducer, but you're not giving the purchase credit to the influencer. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be that way. You should actually be tracking all those points, because then you could say, okay, 30% of it was attributed to influencer marketing, 30% was to social media. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's first-hand, second-hand, and third-hand sales of where your audience participation in sales are coming from.
Yeah, I think you guys should definitely take a look at Zeus Network, for example. Have you heard of it?
I have, yeah.
So they're kind of like a Netflix for short form content with influencers behind it. And it's actually owned in part by Amanda Cerny, King Batch, and Daystorm. And I know Amanda. I love Amanda. She's the one that helped me meet a lot of the influencers and a lot of the people in the space here in LA very quickly. But it's interesting because when you go to, there's probably like 35 influencers that are in shows on the platform. And I think they're getting paid a percentage of my recurring subscription to Zeus. But when you go on the thing to sign up, it's like, which influencer drove you here? And I'm like, oh man, I like Adam, I like Amanda, I like Batch. So one of them is going to get the credit for it. The rest of them aren't, and at the end, and so it's kind of like the same thing with a brand. Even if you have a discount code, it's just whatever one you remember off the top of your head. It doesn't mean that the other ones didn't drive you there, right? I say Cardi B because I like that she's obviously promoting Fashion Nova, but there's probably 100 influencers that I know personally that promote Fashion Nova. Am I going to use their code, so-and-so 20 or Cardi B 20? I'm going to use Cardi B 20 because that's who I remember, That doesn't say that the other ones didn't influence me wanting to be curious about Fashion Nova.